65% of all lumber, and look it up, Wikipedia. You know, they'll say that the 40% is for building them, and then the other 25% is repairing the existing pallets, you know, to keep them new slats or whatever. It's massive. 85% of all commerce, and you guys can relate to this because you're in the trucking industry, is moved on pallet. This chair, maybe even the leather, you know, that this chair was made of at one point. This leather was on a pallet. The raw materials, the foam, the desk, the wood, the wallboard that made the ceiling here, you know, all that was on a pallet. The paint that painted the ceiling was on the pallet. The tile, that's everything you see at some point in this life cycle, at least about 85% of it was on a pallet at some point in time. And it's just, nobody sees it. It's not sexy, you know?
It's always been like in the back of my mind, because we'll drive past these places, we'll deliver to certain places, and we'll see stacks of these pallets. I've always wondered, like, what are they doing with all the excess pallets?
That's the problem. They don't really have a solution for that, and that's where I come in, my students come in, and we teach people how to do it. I'd do 2 or 3 loads, and I'd be done I'd start early, 6:30 in the morning, be done by 8:39, 8:45, and then I'd go play golf. You know,
how much money were you bringing in?
Well, 2 or 3 loads, that's $1,500, you know, in the morning.
What takes the truck driver?
We're not trading time for money. We're not trading miles for money. We're trading units for money. And the units are, fortunately, 95% of them are for free.
You are listening to the Brittney Richardson Experience.
You contacted me and told me, hey, Britt, there's something you might want to hear about pallets. You made like thousands of dollars in just a few hours helping businesses with their pallet situation. So just jump right in, tell everybody like what's going on with the pallets and how did you do this?
Well, it's all started back in 1998. I tripped upon this thing. You know, I was doing remodeling work back then with a partner. His name was Dane. He was my business partner, and a job fell through on a cold December day. And I'll never forget it. We got back to the truck, you know, they had put a note on the door. It was a bathroom remodel, and they put a note on the door saying we had to go out of town emergency. Well, we didn't have anything else scheduled. So we get back to the court, I mean, the truck, and I go, well, what do you want to do? You know, we don't have anything scheduled. He said, well, let's go pick up some pallets. And I go, what's a pallet? You know, and he goes, you know, those wooden things that they move around the warehouses and trucks, you know, take stuff from here to there. And I went, and do what? He said, well, pallet yards will buy them, right? Well, that's how it all started. It was with pallet yards, but the concept has changed since then. But we went out that day, and literally like 8 blocks from where we were, there were 1,500 pallets sitting there at this business. And we stumbled all over ourselves, almost screwed the deal up because we didn't know anything. You know, I didn't know anything back then. Even hand loaded these pallets, right, back then. And I don't do that anymore. You won't have to do that yourself. But that being said, I was getting something for free from these businesses.
So, okay. So the business gave you these pallets? Like,
right, because yes, there's half the businesses out there that they're bringing inventory in, they take their inventory off, and they're delivering it in a different way, whether it's hand truck or directly to the public or UPS. So the pallet is a byproduct of them taking their inventory off. So every day, and they get, you know, 7, 8, 10, 15, 20 truckloads in a day, depending on what the business is. These pallets are just stacking up and stacking up and stacking up, and they have to dispose of them some way. And a lot of times they'll have to, you know, go to the dump with them. Well, it's half the businesses, you know, that we're dealing with. And there are certain sizes I'll buy for $1 a piece, and we'll get into that later. But a lot of this is free, or they'll pay you to take it away and then you're selling it. So right then my brain was going, well, this is pretty cool. Now we were selling to a pallet yard, which we didn't know any better. The next day we found a place that had 2,000 pallets right in the same area as the other place. I started taking those to the pallet yard. And then I noticed at the pallet yard, you know, they're only giving us $1.50, $2 a piece, but still it was volume, right? Mm-hmm. And I noticed this, where'd all those pallets go that we brought y'all, yesterday, and I went, wait a minute. They got customers. Who are these customers? Right. They're just, they're the middleman. Basically, we're bringing the pallets and they're taking them, marking the price up, and they're actually selling them to someone
That's when
else.
somebody's anxious to take something from me. It's like, wait, what are you doing with it?
Well, yeah, but the thing about the pallets are that manager walks by them every day and he sees these stacks. They're getting bigger and bigger, and he knows, oh God, I got to come in on a Saturday and miss the football game and pay my guys overtime. There's just too many of them, right? In a lot of cases.
Plus, the dumps charge you.
But yeah, and they're paying that, incurring that cost. So time, money, hassle. They're in the business of doing what they're doing. They're having a hard enough time just fulfilling their orders that with their regular business does. They don't want to mess with pallets, right? So we come along. Back to my story. I'll wrap that part up. I turned to Dane and I said, Dane, we got to figure out who these businesses are, right? Forget the pallet yard. We got to sell directly the pallets that we're getting directly to a business. We got to figure this out. That's I was like, where their money is. I said, meet me here tomorrow. We're going to figure this out. Dane didn't show up. I never saw him again. He ran off.
What was his excuse?
All he talked about was this girl he was infatuated with.
Oh, that'll do it.
And a girl came into play. He had ran off with her, eloped with her, and
see, we cost you guys a lot of money. You got to be careful.
Well, I mean, he sent me there, and I'm just starting this. I'm going, okay. Now it's all up to me. He wouldn't call me back. I didn't talk to Dane for 10 years. I finally got a hold of him 10 years later and told him what I was doing. He goes, oh my God, I can't believe it. But anyway, I started to figure out who these businesses were. Who are the suppliers and who are the buyers? I didn't want to have a pallet yard, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't want to store it. I didn't want to lift it. I didn't want any employees. I didn't want any warehouse. I didn't want a lease. I didn't want insurance. I didn't want workman comp. I wanted to keep it simple. So I started figuring out who these suppliers are and how to become exclusive. It's exclusive for the supply, who the buyers are, what they need, what their problems were. And this took a long time to try to figure out, because there's so many different styles of pallets out there as well that I wanted to move.
So let me just recap real quick. So the pallet yards, so you were taking these pallet yards, getting a quick buck for it, which I will have a question about that in a second. But then you kind of got to thinking, what are these pallet yards doing with it? And kind of wised up to, wait a second, why don't I just sell directly to these customers?
Right. So now instead of $1, $1.50, $2, it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 25 per pallet.
Times like 2,000 pallets. That's
right.
insane.
Right. So, and that's when it all, and then there, I'll jump ahead a little bit. There's haul off situations where the pallets are crap, but they want them off their property and they're going to load those on my truck. So there'd be places that have 1,000 pallets, but they've been out there forever. And they were paying me, I would get a larger truck, like a 24-foot or a 26-foot flatbed, no CDL required type of thing. And they were paying me $500-$600 a load to haul those off to the dump for them because they were no good. But I'm still making money on that aspect of it as well. So there's a different revenue stream for those types of scenarios.
I just yesterday, I worked a 14, actually it was closer to 16 hours. And I think I brought in like $600 lease purchase driver, which is really good, but it was 16 hours of work.
Right, it's a lot of work, yeah.
How long did it take you to earn like $500, $600?
My average, and it's a lot of people. And now listen, I've been doing this a while, but the way I teach people how to do this as well now, just to kind of jump the shark here. But I teach people to work in really close, tight radiuses where suppliers and buyers. Supplier is the people I get my pallets from, and they also are my storage because I don't have to store them; they store them for me, and I'm moving large quantities from them on a constant basis. And then the buyers are the buyers. But for me, when I get into my truck, my average morning, I'll go to my truck, which I keep parked at one of my customers. My wife doesn't want my truck. I live in a gated community, whatever. So I want to just paint a picture for you folks. What my average morning is is I'll go drive to my truck, right, at my customer. And my truck's in an area where I work anyway, right? A little 5-6 block radius where I have a lot of those different little radiuses. But like on Monday, I'm going to where my truck is. I'm driving 3 blocks to my first supplier. Okay. And that takes 2 minutes to get over there, right? 3 blocks. It takes 15 minutes. You know, I time it out really well. The forklift drivers come out and load my truck. So they're putting 6 stacks on my flatbed. I don't have a big one.
So they're even loading you?
Yeah, they're loading the truck. They're loading the pallets on there. I'm 56 years old. I'm not lifting nothing. So no, the pallet, because they want them gone. And there's ways I teach you to make this happen as well. So no, I do not lift pallets anymore. I did way back 20 years ago, but that process takes literally about 10, 12 minutes for them to put the stacks on my truck, right? So now we're at about 14 minutes. And they put about 120 on my truck, right? So I got to strap them down. That's another 5 minutes. No big deal. So just there's 6 stacks, so they're backed up to each other. So it's 3 straps, right? And so now I'm at about 20 minutes, right? I drive 3 blocks to the buyer because the way cities are constructed, the businesses are really in close proximity. These suppliers and buyers are, and they don't care. The buyer doesn't care that I'm coming. He didn't even know, but he wouldn't care anyway. He just wants some pallets. So I pull in there and they unload me, and I write out an invoice. 120 pallets times 6, $700 something. It's been about 35 minutes. So then I rinse and repeat.
Over 700, you said?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Right now, because of the wood shortage and everything, it's more than that now. And I want to make something very clear, because I know you probably do you have truckers listening to you? A lot of people think the only pallet in the world is a 4840 standard pallet. And that might be talking Greek to some of y'all, but y'all seen the standard pallets on your trucks that y'all deliver, right? But there's tons of businesses out there that not only need not those, but other styles of pallets. And they even need mixed loads of pallets, meaning a wide variety of sizes. So where I can go into a business that has 5 different sizes of pallets, or styles and sizes, and I'd be the one guy that's going to be able to take all of them. Compared to the other guys just trying to get that standard and sell to a pallet yard, because that's a lot of time what they buy. These are different. I can even sell wide variety of mixed loads of pallets at $5-6 a piece, and not have to measure them and not have to lift them and go directly, or not even have to sort them and go directly to the buyer and sell them as well. Because there's so much of that out there that's available to us, where the pallet yards are competing a lot of times for those 4840s, but there's a whole other world of not only pallets, but crates and drums and dunnage and wire spools and corrugated boxes and Gaylord boxes and industrial bags. So you got all that stuff coming into play as well that these businesses need, and I guide you to.
I was browsing Craigslist. I noticed in northern Kansas there's a listing. This business is like desperate to get rid of these big wire spool things. I swear they've got like half an acre of wire spools.
I want to show you something. I want to show you something real quick, because it just came across. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I'm gonna be upset if I can't, because it was just in front of me. Groups. I have a group that with the people I teach. So I'm gonna put this up and see if you can you see that?
Oh yes, yeah, that's what they look like.
This is one of my students. He has hundreds of these that he's getting. He's selling them for $60 a piece.
So what do you do with those? Do they have like pallet yards? Business. Those too?
No, it's not a yard. It's particular businesses that I will teach you in the training of who the type of businesses are that need those types. There's a whole bunch of different types of businesses that need these reels. And he's doing
okay, so you go direct to a business with those. Right.
Getting awesome. The reels from one business that don't want them and sell them into a business at $60 a pop to a business that does need them. He's getting them loaded by a forklift, but he's taking them. He's got so many going on that he's even storing some at his house just to keep them cleared out. Right. And
Wow.
he was unloading them. He was rolling the reel. So, sometimes it ain't. But at $60 a pop, I'd do that all day long.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, as truck drivers, a company truck driver makes usually less than $1,000 a week. So I'm seeing.
How many hours a day?
11 hours drive a day, 14-hour shifts at least. I mean, on a short day, it would be 12 hours if we had a short load.
Wow. But, I don't know how y'all do it. I mean, I have the greatest respect for truck drivers, but you guys are away from your family way too much, and that's a lot of miles. I would get, what is that? Is there a term for it where you get hypnotized by the lines in the road going by you for that?
What do you call that? Highway hypnosis or something?
I haven't worked for anybody. And once I discovered this was 23 years ago. I have not worked for anybody since. I never even went back to the remodeling business. The accounts I found the first week, and I killed myself trying to figure it all out, and took massive action. A lot of it was wrong, actually, but regardless, it was my first week out there. The accounts I acquired, I was making about $78,000 back in 1998. Those accounts I acquired that first week were I had 6 buyers and 12 suppliers. After really stumbling all over myself the whole way, but I took a lot of action back then. That replaced my income. So I didn't make that all in 1 week, don't get me wrong, but the accounts were worth that much where I didn't have to go back.
So how much time does it take you on, or did it take you on a weekly basis to do that?
Well, I'm the kind of person, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to go crazy and I'm going to stumble all over myself trying to figure it out. Now I have, I wouldn't really talk too much about it, but I have a training course. A few years back, a friend of mine came over and I kept this under my hat for years. This pallet business is my little thing, right?
You're sitting on this pile of
my family knew. Yeah, my family knew, but a lot of I have other little businesses that I do as well, side hustles and stuff. Well, one of my friends from a side hustle came over and I said, "Oh crap, I got to do some pallets." He goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Oh, I got this pallet thing." I said, "Right along with me, come along with me and I'll check it out." So we made a couple, I brought in a couple $1,000 in a few hours. And he turned to me after we were done. He said, "This is brilliant. Will you teach me how to do it?" And I went, "Wait a minute. I should teach a lot of people how to do this. Why should I have all the fun kind of deal?" So I did. That's when I started putting this training together to teach other people how to do it. And it's a really involved course because I've learned a lot in 23 years on how to do this the right way and keep it simple and streamlined.
Okay, so I got to ask you, so you're doing this training course. Have people been able to replicate similar results like this?
Absolutely, Brittney. It's, I was just showing you one, in there, but the group is, it's a training and then we have a private Facebook group. And I don't know if I gave you access because we were going to do this or not. Did you get in there or have you, I was just going to show you.
I finally got in the Facebook group. It is awesome. You have a lot of people in there too, thousands and thousands of people that are doing this.
This is all over the world now. I have students in Germany and Australia and Canada and the UK and Finland, Iceland, Kuala I mean, it's everywhere because if you guys realize, and y'all seen it, even over this last year with COVID, this whole section of society that was like, "I ain't buying nothing on the internet," or "I'm not doing work on the internet." Well, they've been forced to. Not only I'm not just talking Amazon, I'm talking business to business, raw materials. There has been an explosion in the amount of shipping that's taken place because of all the online ordering that's going on. And everything you see, I'm gonna give you while I'm on this topic, I'm gonna give you a few facts. But before I do, I have quite a few students that are duplicating this model, right? And this is why there's 2.5 billion pallets in the United States circulating. There was only 2 billion of them last year. But it's grown so much now, it's 2.5 billion pallets.
In 1 year.
So 500 million more pallets have come into play. 65% of all lumber that is processed in the United States is either used to build a pallet or repair a pallet. Not for houses or fences or buildings. It's for pallets
You
because
said 60%?
65% of all lumber, and look it up, Wikipedia. You know, they'll say that the 40% is for building them, and then the other 25% is repairing the existing pallets, you know, to keep them new slats or whatever. So it's massive. It's for 85% of all commerce, and you guys can relate to this because you're in the trucking industry, is moved on pallets. So this chair, maybe even the leather, you know, that this chair was made of at one point, this leather was on a pallet, right? The raw materials, the foam, the desk, the wood, the wallboard that made the ceiling here, you know, all that was on a pallet. The paint that painted the ceiling was on the pallet. The tile, that's on, everything you see at some point in this life cycle, at least about 85% of it was on a pallet at some point in time, or on top of dunnage, you know, that you guys deal with as well, or in a crate. But that's how big it is, and it's just nobody sees it. It's not sexy, you know. I mean, have you really ever noticed it out there? I mean, you see them, but do you ever think about?
It's always been like in the back of my mind because we'll drive past these places, we'll deliver to certain places, and we'll see stacks of these pallets. It's kind of, I've always wondered, like, what are they doing with all the excess pallets?
That's the problem. They don't really have a solution for that, and that's where I come in. My students come in, and we teach people how to do it to move that stuff and solve that problem among many more for that business, for the supply.
Which, by the way, I will put a link to your training so that people can check that out as well in the description box, and I'll pin it in the comments too. Sure. And you also have a YouTube channel, right?
Right, and the YouTube channel is really showing people. It's not the training or anything, but it is showing people what this is. It's called the business is called the Simplest Biz, because it's simple, it's straightforward, it's real, it's tangible, it's, you know, like I described my typical morning. I get a lot of free time. You know, I've had a lot of free time for the last 20 something years, maybe too much, enough to get me in trouble at times. But a lot of times, you know, before I got married, I'd do 2 or 3 loads, and I'd be done I'd start early, 6:30 in the morning, be done by 8:39, 8:45, and then I go play golf. You know, I'm a golf.
How much money were you bringing in?
Well, 2 or 3 loads, that's $1,500, you know, in a morning.
What takes a truck driver a week?
We're not trading time for money. We're not trading miles for money. We're trading units for money. And the units are, fortunately, 95% of them are for free, right? Even the ones I pay $1 for, $1.25 for, I'm flipping for $6, $7, $5, $6, $7 a piece, depending on what it is. And the majority of the stuff is free, or there's situations, again, like I said, I mean, what other business, in some cases, I'm getting paid to take it away because they're just in a desperate situation. And I'm going down the street and having somebody pay me for them as well. So it's double dipping in a way. But you know, you got to hustle in the beginning. It doesn't fall in your lap type of thing. I teach people where these businesses are, who they are, what to say, what issues they have, what problems to solve, what to notice, all of that.
And you actually, I've been able to preview some of this training, and you actually go in some cases with a camera and kind of show how it happens, like how you walk into a place, to say how you get a deal.
Yeah, clandestinely, I do that. And then on top of that, which is even as cool as the training, is, you know, all these students I have out there. And believe me, guys, and girls, whoever, you know, that are out there listening to this is not a glutted market. There's no way. I have students in Birmingham because I have 5 students in Birmingham. I can't do it all. You know, there's thousands upon thousands, and there's millions of businesses to deal with. But back to this, the group, there's students in there sharing every hour of the day post, showing what they're doing, you know, showing how they're doing the deals. They're recording themselves constructing deals as well in there. and showing the businesses that they're working. Even the list I give you is massive, but every day there's somebody else that's done, put a little twist on what I've done, and they're sharing that as well. So it's kind of like a massive database of information, and it makes you feel like if you end up doing this or this interests you, it makes you feel like you're not alone. Lots of students, you see this, you saw this probably, Brittney. A lot of students hook up and do deals together that are in the maybe in a localized area.
I noticed that they were like, "Hey, I've got an excess load of this. Do you guys have some customers that could use it? Maybe we can work a deal." And they have a deal in like minutes.
Isn't that cool? Yeah, and in addition, some of these people they started like they're first starting out and they do that, and some of them stuck together and just became partners because the advantage of that is you got somebody like-minded who's been through what I've taught them, and you have almost a clone of yourself out there as well to double your, or not, if you have synergy involved, is more than doubling your efforts because you both are on the same page.
Yeah, and I noticed I asked a couple questions in the group, and within minutes I had answers, things that I was curious about with pallets. It's like boom, yeah.
I'll admit something. When it first started, I would have to answer a lot of questions, but then people were educated and they're out there and they're doing it. So it's kind of nice. I'll go in there and I go, okay, I can answer this. And well, 5 of my students had already answered it as well as I ever would. And I just have to hit like.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so that aspect of it, it's kept my life simple on that part of it. But there's a lot of help in there is the thing as far as the training is a 14 module course, and it's step by step, and it's video, and there's downloads, there's lists of all the different suppliers and buyers. There's questions you need to ask a supplier, so there's a punch list of that, so you don't have to memorize everything. Same with the buyer. There's phone scripts if you want to do it over the phone. There's brokering that we didn't even talk about. That's really cool. Where the brokering aspect is you're the middleman. You're setting up deals for pallets. Let's say, I'll give you an example. I have one that's 1,100 pallets a week. Okay. And I don't want to stockpile 1,100 pallets a week, especially standard pallets because they're competitive. So I hook up with not a supplier, but a pallet yard basically. And I become the middleman for that deal. Now, am I making a killing on the pallet? No, I'm making 75 cents markup, right? But they're delivering it, they're collecting the money, and they're paying me on 1,100 pallets a week. I say $825.
Wait, so they're
but I don't leave the house.
This is brilliant.
Passive income, right?
Robert Kiyosaki, stop trading time for money. Let money work for you.
Exactly. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, all that. I love it. I actually got that.
I have several books.
I bet you're an audio book girl. Was that true?
Yeah. I live on audiobooks.
I do too.
Come and meet a book author. They're like, "Hey, do you have time to read this book?" I'm like, "Do you have it on audiobook?"
That's what you have time for. I get it. I'll just follow. Sometimes I like the narrator, if it's a fiction author. And I'll follow, there's one called, his last name's Goodall. And I'll follow him on different authors just because I like the way he reads the books, it's so funny. So the narrator is as good as the book is, if it's fiction usually. I like what you're saying on the like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the author is actually reading it. That's a lot of fun.
I honestly think this could help a lot of drivers out who are looking, because a lot of us, and myself included, have, after 9 years truck driving, it's taken a toll on us, and we're being told by our doctors. And I've got several messages from drivers in the same boat where the doctor's saying, "Hey, you need to cut back this 14, 16-hour days, 6 days a week, nights, days, flip-flopping, crazy schedule. Like, you got to slow down or your health's just going to nosedive."
I heard your thing the other day about that, and that's just breaks my heart to hear. But yeah, and if you change nothing, nothing changes, kind of thing. And you guys are sitting sedentary, Yep. I mean, you're bouncing around a little bit, but that ain't, they ain't gonna cut it, right? We got to get out there and move. I could do all my stuff literally, Monday and Tuesday of the week, but my wife's a honey-do list maker, so I'm always trying to. I'll go out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I'll have my friend do it for me on Friday. Now now here's something y'all might want to think about as well. I've been doing my business up in Birmingham for 23 years. We found my wife wanted my kid lives in Mobile, Alabama, which is 3 hours south, 3.5 hours south, and my wife wanted to be closer to him. So a month ago, after all these years, I still have the business up in Birmingham, but we moved down to near Mobile, Fairhope, in Fairhope, Alabama. So, but I kept the business up there, and I have a friend of mine running it for me, and I'm paying him a cut, right? So I don't even have to. The calls still come into me, and the orders and the text for the orders come into me. Got one just a few minutes ago before we started, and he does the pickups and deliveries because that's the easy part. And now I'm going to actually start some stuff down here in Mobile as well. So I could have two different operations, and then you layer that brokering still going on. That's in Montgomery. Heck, I could do stuff I got stuff in Georgia, but I could do stuff in California if I wanted to, as far as the brokering stuff. So you're not limited to just pallets. You're not limited to just an area, because you can move around and do this in different areas and have that backside of pick up and deliver be done by someone else. And then you have all the other items that we're talking about. And I want to make this one point. If I have one customer, but he's ordering pallets from me, right? And then he's ordering corrugated boxes, right? And he could be ordering dunnage as well. So one account can feel like three accounts if you're selling them, because they run out of pallets every week. They run out of boxes every week or 2 weeks. They run out of dunnage as well. So you got three revenue streams from one account. So let's say if you just had four accounts and you're selling them 2 items each, that's like having 8 recurring revenue streams on a weekly basis. And a load of pallets, 150 pallets times 5, that's $700 a week. And then they're ordering 200 corrugated boxes at $350, or depending on size, $4 a box. So it's good money, people. I mean, it's a cool life. It's a scavenger hunt with a map, and I want to help out as many people figure this, learn this, what I've been doing for so long. And I've been doing that. I just want to help more, that's why I'm on here with
to people watching, maybe this is that moment for you. You're at that point, you're looking for something to where you can leverage your time and get in better health. And maybe this is it.
Right. I mean, I hadn't worked a full day in I did when I bought this last truck I had, and that's been like 7.5 years ago now.
Which
I worked. Go ahead.
Paid very little for that truck, right?
$3,600
and it was paid off in how long?
Huh?
It was paid off in how long?
One day. And that's the last day I worked a full day. I wanted to make all that money back in one day. So that's the last time I worked. It was 7.5 hours I worked. Sorry, my nose itches. 7.5 hours I worked, and I paid that truck off. I got all my money back for it on that day. Now, you can rent a truck if you don't. I mean, let's y'all have maybe semis that y'all are dealing with, but you can rent a truck from Penske and stack up several orders in one day of the week. When you first start out, and maximize that rental to where you're doing 2 or 3 loads. Let's say 2 loads of 150 pallets. It's 300 pallets, right? Take you a few hours to do. 300 times $5 a piece, get them for free. That's 1,500. And the rental's going to be like $130 minus gas. Well, gas is probably $5. So you're down to about 1370 is your take home. But that same business is going to order again next week, right? So you just repeat that a few times and let the business buy you a little $3,600, $3,000, $2,500, or $1,000 trailer if you have a truck to pull it with, or something like that. But it doesn't take very much. Heck, you can do it with a pickup truck. There's a way of putting 65 pallets on a pickup truck, and that's $300, right, or more, a little over.
That's incredible. To be honest, I really get a kick out of you. I think you are brilliant. What you stumbled across is brilliant, and I think this can help so many people. So I encourage everybody watching, definitely go check him out. You have amazing training on how to do this. I've never seen training so thorough on every little thing, and you simplify it. That's what I love. Truckers, we are no nonsense people. We want Get to the point. Tell me, what's the baseline here? How do I make the bucks?
No fluff. No, I don't try to get into fluff. I just want actual, information out there. And guys and girls, if you're out there listening to this, there's going to be a link below. You can just go ahead and get this if you'd like. You can go to the Simplest Biz, my YouTube channel called the Simplest Biz. My name is John Charles. Well, actually, it's John Wilker, but I go by John Charles for business.
Who I affectionately call the pallet guy.
The pallet guy. And check some videos out and do your due diligence. I don't want anybody doing this that doesn't understand it. Hopefully I've explained this to you a little bit. It is real. It is cool. It's changed my life. It's changed a lot of people's lives. And do yourself a favor and maybe, put a little light at the end of the tunnel for you if you're ready to get off the road a little bit, or combine it with your trucking business, either or.
Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Brittney. I enjoyed it. And then we'll talk soon as well. I love your channel, and hopefully we can talk again soon, okay?
Definitely. I want to follow up and see how this goes.
Fantastic. Oh, absolutely.
You are listening to the Brittney Richardson Experience.